So in the last, 5 to 10 minutes, I would love to just hear a little bit more about how you helped your own child. But that must be a lonely journey, right? In the start, I don't even know how you started. So you had experience as a craniosacral therapist. I don't think many people really know exactly what that is. And how is that contributing to you helping your child? And really, maybe tell us a little bit about the journey. What did you notice in your son? And then what did you do to go about helping him?
Well, we noticed that when he had actually a little bit of regression at one point, and he went from being this bubbly, outgoing kid to being more introverted. He was losing eye contact. He wasn't listening to us. No matter what we said, we could not discipline him. He wouldn't pay attention to us anymore. He was having sensory overload that was just, making it hard for him to sit still, or especially in a classroom. But we really started.
Was his speech okay? Did you feel like he was a normal child and then he kind of went backwards?
We did. And we saw this regression, and, he was our firstborn. So we really didn't have anything to compare it to. I didn't have that much knowledge on that aspect at the time. I had been doing craniosacral therapy for over a decade when he was born, I believe it was. Yeah, right about that. So craniosacral therapy is where we work on the bones of the head to gently, we don't say adjust, but to help them balance into their normal. They have extension and flexion patterns. And when they do that, it's the brain is then affected. Well, it's very common for the bones to get faulted, as we call it, out of position, and then the brain can't function at optimum. And I had known also a lot about holistic health and how, about toxicity and about how basically the brain can and does heal. It's a scientific fact. But when we started taking him to therapists when he was 5, and one after the other kept saying to us, I think you just need to be firmer with discipline, and you need to really just, basically they were telling us we weren't good enough parents over and over. You're just not trying hard enough with him. And I was like, what do you want us to do? So over and over we heard this. And finally we had one that said, this was again in the early 2000s now, 16 years ago. And he said, it was one man I remember, I'll never forget. And he said, I think he has Asperger's or autism. And he said, but I don't know that much about it. You'll need to research it for yourself. So fortunately, the town I live in California, I went and I couldn't find any books on it. And that next weekend, I was going up to a craniosacral class. All of my courses were up in Berkeley, which is a college town in Northern California. And it's a college town, so they have bookstores, more of them, multiples, right? So I went into one and I said, do you have any books on autism? And the woman said, yes, actually the owner of the store's son has it. So we have a couple. And I was just like, what are the chances, right? And the first book that I picked up off the shelf, it was like I was reading about my son. I thought, oh my gosh, this is what is going on. And, the spectrum, it's called a spectrum for a reason. Every child is very different. Some will have some symptoms and not others. And, it's just everybody's all over. So you have to look at where your child is. But I was like, this is what's going on. So I came home, and I have a friend who actually happens to be a neurologist in town where I live, and her son has autism, and our kids were in the same class at school. So I went up to her and I said, who do you see for diagnosis of this? She told me of the specialist to go to in our area. And I went, and they went through the process, and she said, yeah, he has autism. And, at first, there's the shock, like, oh my gosh, really? This is for real. And then a bit of relief, like, oh, I have an answer. And then you go through the grief, and, there's all of the stages to process the emotions around it. But then she really said, I don't have that much information to help you. You can try, here's a behavioral therapist's name. And that was it. And then the behavioral therapist is telling me I should drug him, and that I was actually doing him a disservice to not drug him. And I thought, what is this? Is all their answers? Nobody knows anything. And I started searching and seeking out other practitioners. And I really realized they don't know, even well-meaning people, they just didn't know what to do. And I thought, I've got to figure this out for myself. I want to find out what the causes are of his symptoms. I don't want to just drug things and mask them. I want to help them get better. So again, that's where my research started. And, my last trip literally to the ER with my son, when he was screaming in stomach pain that he used to get randomly and nobody would do anything. And I was like, don't you even want to, test for white blood? I even knew white blood cells. Maybe he's got some, maybe he's having an appendicitis. And they were like, well, no, that's not what we think. And no, we're not going to do any tests. And they were just so really rude to me as a parent. Like I was just some stupid, unknowing parent. And I thought, that is it. When you just get to that breaking point, you're like, I am done with this. I'm going to figure this out for myself. And so then I began my journey, and it took a long time and a lot of trial and error and a lot of expense to figure it out. But I remember that isolation and that feeling of desperation for answers and wanting them sooner. And so when I went through all of this and got my son better, I wanted to be able to help other parents who were experiencing the same thing and on the same journey that I had been on, and help them to make it easier and to support them. Because we have a tremendous community now in this membership program. And so there's support because there's other people who, it's nice to talk to somebody who actually gets it and understands what you're going through, and offers that support. So that's why I've made it my mission to just help millions. I mean, as many people as I can reach. So
you went through the 4 stages with your son first. Is that what you did?
I did. And it took me about a decade. It took about 10 years. Yeah. To go through all of it, figure it out, for one, because I had to figure it out.
An improvement with each stage, the gut repair, and then the heavy metal detoxification, and then the co-infections. And then the last part is the whole brain repair stage.
Yeah. There were little improvements over time. Like he started connecting more with his sister. He started making more friends. He started being calmer and could focus in the classroom. His grades were improving. He was happier overall. It wasn't like, oh, one day he just started talking, he actually was always pretty verbal. But he had lost connection. Like he wouldn't look at us, and he had what's called hyperfocus, which means he would be locked into something and be focusing to the point where we could talk to him and he literally wouldn't hear us. And he would be really disruptive in the classroom because sensory overload of everything coming in was just overwhelming for him. And so, that you're constantly dealing with the staff at school and trying to work with it. And oh my gosh, it's just, and so, yeah, when it all calmed down and some were like, wow, he's really, making some good strides. And, again, this was over years. Then I saw this really works. And so I just kept going and going. I'm like, what else do I need to learn? What else is there? That's the thing, as I didn't just stop and go, oh, he's looking better. I thought, is there more I need to know? And so, yeah, I mean, interviewing experts all the time on different, subjects now, like, the things that I continue to do help just keep me up, up on the most up-to-date things that are going on. And I always want to keep educating, because you can never have enough education.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like a long time, 10-year journey, but is it worth it? I mean, you're transforming his life. He is a functional, well-adjusted human being. He's living out his life and pursuing dreams. And yeah, that's 10 years of hard work can really pay off.
It does pay off. It does take persistence and resilience. And there are times you have to pick yourself up off the floor and dust yourself off. But you know what? You just keep going and you look at any of those subtle little changes that make all the difference. But I look back and I cannot imagine what his life might be like today if I hadn't done what I do. And that's what other parents are doing it for. Like they want to do anything that they can. And this is your child, you're just desperate to help them.
I've never been more impressed patients or parents of patients, as these autistic kids' parents, because I can't, imagine anyone that's more loving and more courageous. Just the amount of hardship that they are enduring and the effort they're putting into. I mean, that's love. That can only come from a place of love. Is really beautiful to see how dedicated they are. And I hear over and over again, when they come to me for stem cell therapy, they said, Dr. Kong, if there's any improvement, we're happy. It doesn't have to be life transforming. It doesn't have to be cured, but any improvement, we're going to be happy. And it just, yeah, it's very moving, these parents.
It is. They're wonderful and amazing people. So, that's why I always encourage parents, don't listen to naysayers or negative people, just, do your own due diligence. Try to stay as positive as you can, get support. It's really important. And I work a lot with mindset and working on clearing old emotional patterns and subconscious beliefs and things to, make sure that, you're really able to keep moving forward and keep your own health as well.
Yeah. And you wrote a book about, how many books?
It's one big book. It's a lot of the what and why. Yeah.
Okay.
It does have some steps in it that you can implement. That's why after I wrote it, I had a parent. He was actually in Africa. It was actually a dad. It was the first kid. I said, Karen, I read your book and it's great. It's helped me so much, but can you just create a program where you can walk me through the steps? I'm overwhelmed and I just want somebody. And he was the one who it took me about a year to create the membership program, the whole website, put it all together in the order. And of course it's been going about 6 years now. So I've refined and, see, okay, this question keeps coming up a lot. So we'll either make a PDF on it or, something that will make sure it's addressed. So, but he was like, please, I need help. Can you please create something? And his son had a wonderful experience as well. His son had most of his, I don't know if he's fully had his whole diagnosis removed. It doesn't matter, but his son got his whole life back as well from his dad doing the work that he did with him.
How beautiful. Yeah. So what's the name of the book and where can they
Naturally Recovering Autism, just like my website, naturallyrecoveringautism.com.
Yeah. Fantastic. And I know people tune into your podcast all the time. How long have you been doing the podcast?
Boy, I think it's been about 3 or 3+ years, 4 years maybe now. I've kind of lost track, but there are a lot of experts like yourself. People ask me about stem cells, so I send them to Joy Kong. Go listen to this this interview that I did, and her links are on that page. And so there's a lot of great, resources that I make available to parents from interviewing people like yourself who are experts in certain things that they want to know about and need to know about that can be helpful. So there's a lot of information, just even on my website in general. Go to blog, and we put all the podcasts on the blog, on a blog page, so that I can put not only the recording of it, but links to, like resources so that they can reach out to that person that I interviewed if they want to as well.
Yeah, what a contribution. Yeah, that takes so much work and so much heart to create all this. And it must be a continuously very rewarding to be helping all these people, because I know how it feels, right? I'm in my clinic helping patients, and that's what's driving me. I'm pretty sure that's what drives you, is individual, all these different parents, the little kids, and seeing them improve. That's what keeps you going. It keeps you keep making new PDFs and adding new programs. And it's
definitely worth it. Yeah. I mean, like you said, there are times when it can just be overwhelming or a lot, but you're doing things you're helping them. And especially when you see it kind of smooth out and how hard they're trying, it's nice to be able to be a support system, because, you want them to have the resources they need. They're wanting to do it. They're not just saying, oh, there's nothing I can do for my child, or that's ridiculous, which is really sad to me when somebody says that, because their child's not going to get the help they need. And then you find these diehard parents that are like, I will do anything for my child. And, and just anything, some get in like, oh, there's nothing wrong with my child. You know what? There are underlying toxins and pathogens and things that are actually making your child sick. They're not well health-wise. If you clear these up, then they're going to be able to be calmer, sleep better, maybe have more friends and connection, maybe speak. There are a lot of different things. Why wouldn't you want to make somebody's life better, especially your own child's? Help them in any way you can, just to improve their quality of life.